Hi everyone, thank you for coming. Okay, thank you very much for coming to the Next Gen Leader Group and Fordham University event. Today is the first day of spring 2023. A month ago, when we choose the date with Fordham University, there were a few options. But we considered students gonna have midterm, spring break, and so it left we don't have many choices. But fortunate, we got a day, the first day of spring of 2023. I'm very happy for that because I think spring represents the beginning of electability and all hope, and I hope that dreams of everyone presents will be realized today, and we will work together. So about who we are the world's next gen leader community, driven by the sharing belief that the world needs passionate, creative, extraordinary, hardworking next gen leaders to create a better future together. So why we are a next gen leader group, why we are here, and the problem that we want to solve. Okay, I'm going to share a little story of myself when I was a college student. When I was in college, I was an international student, and I found integrating into the local community challenging. When I graduated and I looked for a job, I was not very clear about my choices. In addition to apply for the big, very famous companies, I didn't know whether I had a choice of small and medium-sized companies. How to find them? How do I apply? The whole person I am was very anxious during that time, which led to very low efficiency. However, later on, a few months later, I found a job, but I found that I didn't like it much after I've been there 2 months. But I spent so much time back and forth. I needed to position myself accurately, and the textbooks in school were very different from the actual work. That wasn't what I expected, and I learned my license by costing a lot of time. And also, some of my college friends couldn't hold on and left US. They gave up their dreams just because of all those problems they were facing. And also I want to say that, according to my own experience, when we literally just start work, we usually take the Excel monkey role. And some people say that is dirty work, and some people say that is just, facing computer and doing not really valuable things every day. And also, we cannot see the whole picture of the company. This also leads to the day when you leave the company with not enough information about the structure of the work and knowledge of the market. It isn't easy to start your own business or have a better choice later on. So then, according to my own experience, I figured that the importance of networking is not only for international students, but also for recent graduate students, even young professionals. We have to see what our choices are and how much we can do. And we have to learn from the older generations. We have to learn from people with full of experience, and they could give us better choices. They could give us better advices for what they have been through when they were younger. So we learn from their experiences, and they learn from the mistakes. And I would like to tell you guys why you should join us later on, because Next Gen Leader Group is one of the world's largest Next Gen Leader communities. Our community combines athletes, school students, well-known family offices, investors, entrepreneur CEO executives, private equity, venture capital and investment funds, and all experts from different fields. And they will be great asset to aiding for us that we could learn from them better experiences, or whatever the advices they can give us as a youngster. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys that a couple weeks ago we had experience event with Next Gen Leader Group partnership with the video. And during that event, it had like a 3 hours event as a headquarter 100 Park video office. That we had a partner, Larry Mel, join us, and he shared his 15 years experience being in taxation and building up international law structure to our new students who are going to apply or who are interested in this field. And it's really helpful, knowledgeable information for them to expanding knowledge or experience later on. Will be really helpful for them to make a better choice. Save time. That's what I'm trying to say. That many of you here are 20, 25, or 26, but time flies. You don't really have a lot of time to back and forth like when I was younger. So lucky you having us here, so we can tell you a bit more that the mistake we made when we were younger and how we see the market right now is it's not from the magazine or news or TV. It's our real experience, and we're trying to help and we're trying to make an impact to the next gen. Thank you. Okay, now we start the panel Wall Street Fireside Chat. And I'm going to make an introduction for you guys that we have a great 4. I would say we have a great 4 friends to join this sharing panel. First, I see started Julia Valentine. Could you please introduce yourself? Is there a microphone? I don't know. Oh yeah.
Can you guys hear me? Can I try?
No.
No, I made a mic. Yay, okay. Great. No back? No. No back? You can hear me, right?
Recording.
Oh, really?
Hello. Oh, okay. Is this better?
Yeah.
All right. By popular request. Okay. Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here. My name is Julia Valentine. I have been in fintech at various Wall Street firms since 1996. My undergraduate is NYU. My MBA is Columbia. So many of you are my fellow alums. Who is at NYU or Columbia?
Wow.
Hello. Okay. So I'm going to start by saying that you have the most amazing network, because I just went to an event on Thursday with my Columbia friends, and one of the people I went to school with and did my MBA with, she's now a partner at Ernst & Young in New York. And what she told me is, anything you need, let me know what you need, because I'm in a position here where I have so many connections. Like, what can I do for you? Do you know what I mean? And that's exactly what the network is for. And you're building it now. So with everybody, who's your friend, everybody you're doing homework with, everybody you're engaging with, that is your network. And 30 years later, they will move mountains for you, and vice versa. And that's really where I'm going to leave it, because we're going to go over the work experience later, right? Okay.
Okay, the next, Sebastian, please, can you introduce yourself?
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sebastian Ficht. I am originally from Germany and spent sort of half my life in Europe, different places, and half my life in the US. And I did go to Columbia undergrad, which was a wonderful experience. And I now work at JP Morgan, which you can probably tell. Actually, we don't have to wear a tie, but I put one on anyway. Yeah, I've been at JP Morgan for going on to 23 years. I started in 2000. First I did investment banking, and now for the last 17 years or so, I'm doing wealth management. So we can talk about that more, but yeah, that's my background.
Thank you so much. And next is Zhang. Please introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Hey everybody, my name is Zhang. I'm originally from China. I know a lot of you are from China mainland as well. Came here about 15 years ago. Got my MPA from Pace University. How many Pace graduates here? Right, anyway, it's okay. I went through the same thing, right? I currently work at Morgan Stanley. I have my own team, wealth management, portfolio manager, advisor. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. And let's move to the next. Let's start the panel. Thank you. Yeah. All right, so let's just talk this way. That's fine. Can you move? Okay. The first question is I'm going to take one back for you. So what would you expect the economy market will trend? We're gonna go into the answer the question.
No, are you kidding me? No,
Portfolio manager start.
yeah, let's just okay, exactly. He's on the group for that.
I mean, what a week. A lot of things to share. How much time do I have? I'll keep it short. So, well, you probably all heard about SVB, right?
Yeah.
You did it before, you do now, right? Very well. So I think there are better reasons, right? Caused the collapse. And at the moment, right? At the moment, I don't think it's going to be widespread, right? Widespread liquidity crunch. We're not there yet. But the recession is another thing, right? It might be the first shoe to drop. Nobody knows. It's a 50-50. The problem with the current market condition is that the Fed is doing their best, right? The problem is that the Fed has a really bad track record for soft landing, right? Give you an idea, the past 14 QT, the Fed caused 13 recessions, right? So the odds are against us. I'm not saying we're gonna have a recession for sure. To me, it's a 50-50. So right now, right, and that's another thing, I probably should share this with you as a portfolio manager on my team. We focus on the fundamentals, right? We do think moving forward, the age of cheap money growth at all costs is over, okay? It's over. So it's gonna go back to the fundamentals where valuation matters. Defensiveness of your portfolio as a whole, right? How are you hedging against different risks? And that's the problem with a lot of the banks, right? Very concentrated funding base, not pointing fingers, but I think they got complacent. And a lot of investors, institutional investors, individual investors, the CEOs, all got complacent for good reasons. Just keep in mind, we had the longest bull market in the US history, okay, before the pandemic. But I see that as a black swan. So moving forward and share some timely thoughts. I think the Fed is going to raise 25 bips. A lot of people are talking about, oh, they're going to pause, right? I don't think they're going to pause because inflation is still high. The headline is about 6%, right? The latest year over year. Even the core is still 5.4%. Yes, it's a lot lower than the peak back in June, like over 9%. But again, it's far from down, right? The drop is not down. And that's why I think 50 is unlikely, pause is unlikely, 25 is more likely, right? This is my personal opinion. Of course, I'm in the 25 bips camp. Yeah, so that I think moving forward, as an investor, you guys focus on the stock-specific valuation moving forward, right? Defensiveness, I think that's That's what the market calls for. The market condition calls for extreme diversification. Okay, extreme diversification. That's when the diversification shines, right? Is that?
Yeah,
I mean, I can talk for a long time. I
fabulous.
want to take all your time here.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much. I guess Pace University is a great school, yeah. All right, so
Yeah, I would agree with what you said, with most of what you said. I think we're definitely moving into a more difficult environment right now, but I also think we've had it good for many, many years, and I think it's natural that at some point the cycle turns and we have to face other issues, but hopefully they won't be sort of too severe, but I do think we will be heading into a recession, and I think the Federal Reserve obviously has been trying to curb inflation, which has been a big problem for the last year or so. But maybe they've done it a little bit too aggressively, and so one of the consequences of all these interest rates hikes has been that the banks are sitting on a lot of liquidity, and they had to invest this liquidity. And now, in the case of Silicon Valley Bank, they had they had this problem that a lot of deposits left Silicon Valley Bank. And basically Silicon Valley Bank had to sell a big securities portfolio at a loss because these securities were sold for maturity, and that caused obviously the sort of the bank run there. But I also agree that I don't think this will be widespread. I think at the end of the day, especially in the U.S., the government's going to step in and bail out at least the depositors. I mean, the equity holders or the bondholders, that's a different story. And as we saw over the weekend in Switzerland, where Credit Suisse was bought by UBS, I think there the outcome wasn't so good for the shareholders and the bondholders. But I also think the U.S. I mean, I don't know Asia, but I know Europe and here, and I think between the two places, I'd much rather be here because I think there's more innovation here. There's more. Just more of a spirit of starting companies, of people thinking, in a positive way. And so I think even though we are going to have a tough year this year, maybe next year, I do think that over the medium term, the U.S. economy is going to come back. And I also think technology is going to come back because that's where the productivity growth is and that's where the innovation is happening. So yes, it's a problem right now, but in the next year or two, I think it's going to make a comeback.
thank you so much.
So Sebastian just led, this thread of thought to technology and innovation, and that's exactly my area of expertise. So I'm very grateful that you ended up there. So in terms of fintech, all of you know what's been unfolding over the last 30 years, right? It's been a tremendous shift in our ability to communicate, to process financial payments, to do embedded finance. And there's so many areas where technology just, came in and completely transformed the way that we do business and also what is possible. Now, it's not going to change. It's going to grow. There are various areas within tech that are booming. And technology, there's one thing that you need to understand about it is that there's always going to be an area that's going to, be kind of done and tapped out, but there's always going to be something else that is just about to start. So tech is for people who are like phoenixes. You have to reinvent yourself. If it's not every 6 months, it's every couple of years, you have to reinvent yourself. And I think that the only reason I was able to start in technology in the 90s, and very few people make it to chief technology officer, there are probably, I don't even know how many percent of women make it into CTO. And the only reason that I was able to do that is because every 3 years, I evaluated what was going on and I shifted. And I took huge risks. Like now that I look back on it, I'm like, what the heck was I doing? But I was going with innovation. So when I started, it was before Y2K, and you could literally walk in and get a tech job because everybody was doing Y2K, and they would double your salary on the spot. So my first job, I was still at NYU, it was my last semester, and I decided that I wanted to do research. And I worked for the Chief Economist USA, which is VC, on the fixed income desk. And that was a great job. But I went to Prudential Securities, and they said, we will double your salary, doesn't matter what you're making, we'll double your salary, provided you start within the week. Like, less than 7 days. And I was like, no, I have to give notice, like, they'll be really mad. And they're like, no, you gotta start, and they're like, can you do tomorrow? And I'm like, are you kidding me? So that was tech, but I was at JP Morgan for a long time. JP Morgan paid for my executive MBA, which was great. And then I went to D. Shaw, and hedge funds back then, people were like, oh, why would you go to a hedge fund? It was so risky. I went from JP Morgan Investment Bank Technology to D. Shaw, that was 500 people in the US, right? It was not even comparable. But hedge funds were the cutting edge. That's where people make money. That's where a lot of innovation was happening. Do you know what I mean? And from there, I went to a family office. And back then, people were like, what is a family office? Are you insane? Like, what family is it? Well, in my case, the family is a top 10 family in the world, and they do a lot of stuff. And I got to manage technology and operation there. And then I went to a pension fund with 110 billion of assets under management, and I was CEO and CTO. And that was not like a privately held firm, that's like a state, entity, and it's huge. But you have to pivot so many times. And yes, this is where all of the innovation, all of the opportunity is gonna come in, but you have to understand what is going on. You have to track all of that stuff and get into it very, very early. That's where your risk is gonna come in. But if you diversify that risk, if you have good skill sets, do you know what I mean? Then you'll pivot and you'll be fine. But that's really, sorry, that's a long way of, all I'm saying is that there will always be ups and downs, right? It's your ability to navigate, right? You have to be like this, these people, like, what's it called, surfing? Yeah, you have to surf all of these markets, you know what I mean? Build your core skills, but at the very same time pivot.
Thank you so much. You're so kind in sharing the life stories now.
Exactly, sorry.
Not long enough, so enjoying.
Oh.
All right, so I'm going to.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Okay, my thoughts of the how do I foresee this market for later this year, next year, that it's because I'm running. Okay, I work for a single family office. I'm trying to tell you guys, because Julia mentioned not many people know what is family office is. Perhaps, like, all of you knows what a hedge fund is, what is institution is, but not family office. So I don't want to play too hard here because JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, and Barclay is here. But I have to say that I think it's, can I say? Okay, I can say that I think it's the family office is where the majority money from Wall Street come from. Is that fair to say that? Okay, so for a single family office, it's that you can think of maybe Bill Gates' family or Donald Trump's family. For that size, for that kind of wealth, would determine a single family office. And for our strategy, I don't think it's we should say for this panel, but for being a single family office director for our alternative investment strategy side, we would do a certain portion into a different markets, such as we would do this year. That's his NDA, but we would do like 30% to hedge fund secondary markets because the market isn't stable, and I would do a 10% for riskier like cryptocurrencies or blockchain markets. We'll give institutions, but JP or Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs for like 35%, and the rest we will do direct investment into real estate or into like about tech. This is That's also what we are looking for as a single family office. And also, I'm running a multi-family office as well. So when people heard about what family office could determine into single family office, like a bigger business family wealth, and the smaller size of family, they park money together. We will concept them as a multi-family office. Like, for example, each family office may have $50 million. So 4 packed together will give a big fund, and so we will get more powerful to ask for a better share of IPO from Morgan Stanley. That's what they're looking to the size of money, right? Because you guys are more JP Morgan. So yeah, this is considered multifamily. It's just a smaller size, but similar strategy and similar concepts. It's long and short, all we really want is to get the most return out of it. So when you're a single family office or multi-family park together, so you have more money in the fund, and then we can ask for better deals from Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, or we could buy more pre-IPO shares, like usually you make a lot of money for that. But it's for now, because the market isn't so grateful yet, so it's not really a good time for IPO, but definitely a great opportunity for market acquisition, right? Okay, so I'm gonna pass on. All right. Okay, so next question. What career planning advices would you give to new grads as you graduate from NYU and also Columbia? And then we literally started in 1990, yeah? So how do you see all this? I know the market isn't the same like these days, because right now it's like more students graduate from college, more competitive, but still they need a better planning for what they want to do in the future. As I heard from many students that I know, that most of them are following the trend. They think that, okay, now is the world of technology. All of them goes to technology. They think now is the time for quantitative mathematical. They all go quant. Because they don't know many choices. They think that's the trend they jump in, whether they like it or not. Some of them, they regret after they took the courses. They were like, that's not my thing, but already in there, so okay, I'm gonna finish it. Then they find a job in quant, but they don't like it. So it's a lack of planning. That's just, again, a lot of time wasted. What would you think of this? And how did you make a choice when you were just graduated?
Do you want me to take it?
Yes, please.
So point number one that I would make is that if it's stressful, if something is stressful and you have to do it for a long time, and if you really don't like it, you are just burning out. Something or not counting. And I was like, there's no way I could do that. Like, if there's no amount of money that you could pay me, not for me. Then I decided that I was gonna go into economics and research and do my PhD. And I worked for a year at HSBC, and I was like, I don't like working for economics departments of investment banks. And I think if I do a PhD, I would feel really isolated doing academia. It's not for me, I'm too hands-on, I'm too practical. So when I found technology, I was, this was like something that was like my third kind of option, and that was only 6 months after I graduated. And I stuck with it because, like, even if you don't pay me, I still do it. Like, this is, I started my own firm because, like, during the pandemic, a friend of mine was, needed help and needed a project, and I was like, you know what, you're not doing it right. Let me just do that for you. Like, I don't need any money. I'm just gonna, it was a friend of mine. And I did the project just to help. And then they're like, hey, do you want to be on the board of a bank? And I'm like, yeah, heck yeah, of course I want to be. Who doesn't want to be a board director of a bank, So it's like, even if I do something and it's not for a job, I'm very, very good at it because I love it. And so, like, some really good stuff comes out of the blue, So that is essential. You have to, like, your core of the skill set has to be something that you love doing. And then you have to try it out. You have to test it out and give yourself permission to change it a few times. Because even though I didn't, end up using my accounting skills. Like I'm not an accountant, I'm not a CPA, I'm not a CFA. I have a really good understanding of finance, and it helped me a lot with other stuff. So I don't do it day to day, but I don't believe that any experience is wasted unless you persist in it for like too long. You know what I mean? But still, you'll be able to somehow utilize it and do internships and talk to everybody. Like, take up your entire alumni directory and just start calling everybody and emailing everybody. If it's even remotely what you think could be good for you, have a conversation with them, come in, they'll show you around, they'll give you a lot of opportunities, do free internships, like you have to test it out and get as much information as possible, and people will give it to you, even if they're busy. Don't you think?
Yeah, I fully agree with what you said, Julia. I think, for me, the most important thing is like trying out different things, because you just don't know what you're really going to enjoy. But I do think you need to think about what you do enjoy and try to focus only on those areas, because otherwise, life is too short, and even if you could make a lot of money or whatever it is, and I think, obviously you need to survive, but I think the most important thing is that you have fun, that you enjoy your job. And I think it's absolutely actually essential to do different things. If you only do one thing, unless you want to become a doctor or a lawyer, maybe then it's sort of a little bit more clear cut. But if you're sort of in general technology, business, finance, then I would do as many different jobs as possible and also do as many different internships as possible. So I worked in consulting, I worked in accounting, and I realized both of those areas I didn't enjoy that much. And then I stumbled into wealth management, which I actually really enjoyed. And so I'm similar to you. I don't really consider it, I'm enjoying myself. Obviously, it's very stressful at times, especially these days. But it's, if I don't do it, I miss it, and I don't really consider it work. So, I'm very fortunate in that way, but I bumped into it by accident. When I was starting my career, I had no idea what wealth management was. And so, it just sort of happened a little bit, I guess maybe it was destiny, maybe it was sort of an accident, but I do think it's very important to try many, many different things. So if you have an interest in something, pursue it, do an internship, talk to people, and even I think the nice thing is about this country, which I also really like, is the fact that you can switch sort of careers, you can do different things, you can get a master's degree and then go from one career to another career, even without a degree. So I think that's definitely in our favor, and I think you need to take advantage of that. Definitely.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, so I don't know what to say. They summarize so well. So I think I'm not really good at case study, right, career advice, because I took so many lectures. And I'll share this with you guys, right? First time I share this. So when I graduated, right, as an international student from China, you guys probably face the same.
Hello.
Okay. That was loud enough. Right? So when I was considering, right, what to do, should I go back to China, find a job, or just stay here? I wanted to stay here for a couple of years at least, right, to figure out what I want to do in life. I didn't know. So I basically found a job, right, and I had Social Security number. They didn't ask me about my green card or citizenship, so I didn't tell them, right? So basically I was planning to just convince the CEO that they want to keep me here. So I basically got in, and 3 months later I had a meeting with the CEO saying that, okay, if you want to keep me, you got to sponsor my H-1B. And that's how I got my first job. So can you copy it? I don't know, right? Is it even legal? I don't know. But what I'm trying to say here is that don't expect silver bullets, okay? There's no silver bullet. I mentor a lot of kids, right? Even younger than you guys. They always look for the silver bullet, meaning I want to find my dream job. I want to find my dream house, right? First shot. No, it's very unlikely. I think Sebastian, Julia, and even Katy. Like Katy, you were very efficient, right? 2 months in the job and knowing you don't like it, that's really efficient. Didn't waste any time. But the point is, you don't know. You don't know where you're gonna end up, right? You don't know where you're gonna end up. I was reading a white paper, I think a couple weeks ago, about the career path, right? So many successful CEOs, right? The big fund managers, they didn't get it, like MBA from Harvard. They didn't major in finance. So a lot of time, I think maybe Jobs, right? Steve Jobs said like connecting the dots backward, make a lot of sense, right? Right now you are moving forward. First job, you don't know, right? Don't look for the silver bullet. Grab whatever you can get a hold of, and it will play out. You don't know it yet, right? But in 20, 30 years, looking back, every piece, along the way, made sense, right? I think that's what I want to share with you guys the most.
Yes, we love it. That's great. But it took you 3 months to figure it out, yeah, not 2 months, so I'm more efficient for sure. All right, I'm gonna pass the number 3 question. Can we jump to number 4? Okay, so what are the challenges of fitting into a corporate culture? I think I will pass to Sebastian for this question. Yeah.
Challenges. Well, it's a difficult question to answer. I think it just depends. A lot depends on sort of the company that you are, interviewing with, or the company that you want to work for. And by the way, I think I'm not this is not going to cause some issues. But if I had to start over my career, I would probably not work for a big company and probably start my own company, or work in a smaller sort of group or unit. Even though I love JP Morgan, but I think at the end of the day, it would be probably even more rewarding to have your own company. But that's maybe easier said than done. But I do think that, obviously you need to do a lot of research and try to understand what is the culture of the company that you're interviewing with or that you're trying to get a job at, because it will also, first of all, it'll help you get the job or the internship, because they're going to ask you, why do you want to come here? So you need to, and I'm sure you know all this, but you need to obviously do your homework and try to understand like what are the benefits of a certain company over another company. And I think, I can only speak to JP Morgan. I think we have a very nice culture. I think it's very team-based, at least in my area. We have a lot of initiatives internally, trying to promote minorities, trying to help women. There's all kinds of sort of clubs, if you will, within the organization. There's always something happening. And, from the CEO down to sort of, very senior management, these people are very involved in these initiatives. And I think that's a very good development. I think no company is perfect, obviously, but I do think it's very important that you sort of do the research, try to understand what is the culture, what does this company stand for. Look at their board, how many women are in the board, or how many women have senior roles. I think that's something that's pretty telling. And I think again the U.S. is sort of ahead of the game, at least compared to Europe. And so I think in general, from my perspective, at least for a big company, I think, again, I'm going to talk to JP Morgan, but I think this is sort of a general phenomenon that I think companies are trying to really internally change and try to be much more open and sort of help people that maybe, historically have not been, sort of very high up in the pecking order, and really help them, train them, and give them opportunities, which I think is a very good thing. Like I said, for JP Morgan, I think, we do that, and that's very refreshing to see.
Thank you so much for sharing the secret of JP Morgan. Now we turn to Morgan Stanley. Please help us.
Okay. And for those of you who don't know the history between the two firms, we used to be the same family, right? And the Glass-Steagall, all that. You can look it up. What was the question? Corporate culture. So corporate culture, I believe that, so for Morgan Stanley, right, I love the firm, they treat employee very well. And a couple of things I'll share with you is that, I don't know if you read the book, I think it's a Tribal Leadership, right? It's really about the culture, and the whole point is that when you have a good culture in place, it will self-reinforce over time, right? What it means is that, forget about the mandatory sex harassment trainings, all the other trainings. good behaviors will happen by themselves, right? When you have a good culture, that's the foundation. And also, when you have a good culture, that people who do not fit in wouldn't survive, they wouldn't last, right? Like Katy with her first job. So it's really important right now. And I'm glad to see a lot of the publicly traded companies are putting a lot of money, a lot of work, a lot of resources toward developing a good culture or maintaining good culture, right? At Morgan Stanley, 5 core cultures, right? Do the right thing, put the clients first, lead by exceptional ideas, commit to diversity and inclusion. Of course, give back, right? I happen to love those because they align with my own personal core values as well, right? But what I know is that for all the colleagues I interact on a daily basis, we all live by the value. And the firm puts the 5 core value, wherever you can see, the men's room. I don't know if they have a women's room, I've never been there. The surveys, right? Twice a year. Surveys sent out, everybody chip in, right? They want to hear from us, right? People who are in front of the clients. How can we do it better? How can we make it work, right? Easier? How can we make you feel belong here, right? How can we help you? How can we help your success? Because your success equals the firm's success as a whole. Yeah. Like a team, exactly. Like a team.
David, Julia, want to talk about it?
All right, so I'll add my 5 cents on entrepreneurship because we already have the JP and Morgan Stanley, so they've covered the corporate culture. Of course, if you go to a hedge fund, it's a completely different animal. So I went from JP Morgan to D.E. Shaw. It was the hardest move that I've ever, there was nothing more difficult than that. Because D.E. Shaw was #1 in the world at the time. The competition to get into D.E. Shaw was like 500 people applying for one spot. It was a complete accident that they needed somebody with my skill set, and they brought me in. But the quality that was expected was way above and beyond what I could deliver at the time. I'm an immigrant. English is my 4th language. So, and I wasn't writing or speaking at the level that was expected of me. And literally people would say, you didn't put in the right, you didn't include the right space, you didn't do this, It was insane. So the amount of work that I had to do on my own writing outside, kind of like as a homework, you know what I mean? I was taking classes and all that. So that was extremely difficult. And it was also difficult for me to embrace it initially because I was like, this really doesn't impact the end product. Do you know what I mean? Like even if I have a grammatical error, like I did everything else correctly or whatever. So I couldn't understand it. Now, after 4 years there, I understood it, and everywhere else, it annoyed me that people were so, like, you know what I mean? Like, not verifying everything 1,000%. So, getting used to that and embracing it sometimes is a real struggle, I feel like. But I want to just read out a couple of things about entrepreneurship and the United States. Who here is an immigrant? Who here was not born here? How many people? Okay. So I want to read a couple of facts out to you. This is all verified, okay? 55% of US unicorns, that's a startup with a value of over $1 billion, were founded by immigrants. 55%. 45% of Fortune 500 companies were founded by immigrants. 45% Fortune 500. Immigrants account for about 25% of US entrepreneurship and innovation. Immigrant graduates with STEM degrees are twice as likely to file for a patent. That, by the way, includes Columbia AI Labs. I have a lot of, I have strategic partners who actually have patents, from Columbia, and we end up working together. And I think that this is where a lot of the personal qualities and intelligence, the drive to succeed, the drive to work really hard. Immigrants we kind of already like self-selected, do you know what I mean, in many respects. And of course there are a lot of people who are born here and they're just as self-motivated. But when you go to another country, you kind of have something to prove, right? It's like you made the whole thing for like nothing. So there is definitely something there that, you know, so consider entrepreneurship because the odds are really great.
Thank you so much. And okay, I'm going to jump to question number 5. It's how to expand your professional network beyond your academic circle. And I'm going to introduce someone in the back who is graduated from Michigan University Law School. And he is the CEO of one of the largest global networking communities. Mark, I see you there. You're hiding really well. Could you please share to our students like how professional networking beyond your academic circle? We'd love you to have you share your thoughts. Back in the back. You got it? Okay.
I usually do this to other people.
I see you in the back.
Thank you, and I appreciate all the comments about immigrants. I mean, in a way, we're all immigrants, right?
Yeah.
Change that policy as soon as possible. I've sponsored many people with their visas, and it's been a win-win-win for all of us, for this country. Networking. Some people don't like to network, right? I mean, who really loves networking? Okay, you're clearly on stage, right? And who would say you're the other extreme? It's a little awkward, maybe anyone else on the awkward side? In case you feel awkward saying you're awkward. And then maybe in the middle? Yeah. It is, I always say, you know, you need to network it's like when you need an umbrella, you know, when it's raining, you have an umbrella, but networking is something you need to establish now, and it's a cycle. If you believe in karma, what comes around goes around, you'll never know. And what I did is I founded for the University of Michigan and my college, Denison, alumni networks, because frankly, I think the schools have it wrong. They're always asking for money, right? You need to help, not just for the first 2 years, you need to help the alumni for many years, because we're all going to live to 100. This generation. So you need to think long-term, and there are 3 different levels of alumni. And what you need to be thinking about is coming to these events, maybe helping Katy, right? Because that wins you points of sorts, right? Karma points, but also Katy's going to remember you. And then the job, Morgan Stanley is going to say, I'm looking for your best. Or JP Morgan, I'm looking for the best student. And sometimes it's the hustler that comes to mind. So I'll leave it there, I guess.
What's the name of the company?
The 361 firm, 361 firm. And the one firm comes from Arthur Andersen, the most collaborative global culture I've been a part of. I was a partner at Arthur Andersen. And I lived in Russia, of all places. And
361
firm. It's 360, legal name 360, and that because we believe in roundtables for my networking. And I brought that to the family office world and insurance, and people need to listen to each other and help each other. So that's the background.
Thank you so much, Mark, in the back.
And mentoring, one last thing. You're doing things with mentoring. That's where also this culture is, and we all need mentors. Even the guys on stage, might have executive coaches. They may not tell you they have one, but they have them, or their company is providing them. We all need mentors, and I think what you're doing is great in that respect.
Thank you so much, Mark, in the back. All right, so when Mark he mentioned the mentors. Actually, I want to share a little bit story of myself. Like when I was, I don't know, it's perhaps I'm really talkative or talking too much sometimes. So I got many good opportunities to meet great people when I was in college or the first 2 years that I just graduated. Because, through family circle, friend circle, I met a great mentor. Like one of them is Jamie Rogers. He's the father of secondary market, I would say that. And he, personally, he didn't talk much. He's a very quiet person in private life, but ever since I asked him questions, I feel confused how I see the markets, secondary markets, or doing IPO according to his 40 years experience as a new generation. And, because I see time consumed. I'm going to mention this again that because I want to try to, I think the only way I can compete with my generation is like people similar my age, how I compete with them, right? It's like, can I spend 1 year to get experiences like what they have in 5 years? It's like time consumed, like time competing. So I study really hard and my own way, not textbook. I have to tell you guys that while I was in college, I wasn't really a A grade student. I would say I got 3.45 GPA when I graduated from college, but because I spent a lot of time doing research, things that I really obsessed in finance, and I did a lot of time networking to meet with people I admired, to meet with the leaders from different fields, different industries, and I learned from their real experience, and I'm trying to talk to them as they see me, and I'm trying to convince them that I'll be the future of when they become them, use my own way. So I have Jamie Rogers with me. I have Barclay. He is the head of NASDAQ Asia. I had even dean of my business school, and I had many women leaders. I don't want to share their name here. They're really private. But I think without all my mentors, to be honest, I wouldn't have the chance to be here, sitting here to talk to you guys. I'll be just perhaps give up and back to China somewhere and housewife maybe, or I don't know, or summer shopping. I don't know, but seriously, it doesn't sound too bad. But I mean, honestly, like my grandfather always tell me that life is short. Like how many years do you have to be in sparkle, right? When we pass away, we never know what's gonna happen. But now you're alive and you're energetic. So you got to have your own dream and fight for it. And how? I hope you guys can think about it, like how to fight for it. And just don't easily give up. Don't just become one of another on the street. Where sometimes I see people walking on the street without thinking, do things without thought, or making decisions so rushed, like a human body walking the street without a soul. And I don't want to see you guys become like that. We all great students. You guys are at NYU, Columbia. The way you started much better than me even. I mean, I'm sure you can do much greater than me if you can see better. If you can see your choices, don't limit it yourself. Just open your mind, open your heart, and take the chances, and take challenge. And I'm sure you can achieve your dreams. I'm very sure about that. Networking?
Yeah. So I do a lot of networking, right? So as an advisor, I also deal with clients directly. What I've learned the hard way is to listen, right? Listen to lesson. Because a lot of us, the immediate response is that we would listen and then immediately thinking about how do I come up with something that sounds smart, right? Impress the other person. No, that's not what you need to do, right? Just listen to what the other person is really trying to say. get all the emotions they're trying to deliver to you, right? People want to be heard. Trust me. Next time you talk to a stranger, just try this, right? You have a tattoo. Oh, tell me about your tattoo. The story behind the tattoo. They won't shut up. I promise. I promise. And they would. Exactly.
I'll start a conversation is very important.
Very. And they will be so glad they got to know you because you are probably the only one in the room that listens. That's my key, right? That's the key to networking, in my opinion. And get yourself out there. Yes, it works for your dating life too, right? Get yourself out there, right? That's how you network. A lesson to lesson, not to lesson to respond.
Thank you. Should we jump to question number 6? So, what are you looking for when hiring a new employee? And I'm sure students would love to see the opportunities, and perhaps you can share a little insider of, are you guys hiring for the summer?
We're always hiring. Yeah, I think, what's very important, I actually interview people on a not regular basis, but, on and off. A lot of candidates that we have are very smart and everything, but I'm always, not always, but often surprised that, people don't do enough sort of homework or prepare enough for the interview. And I'm not looking for anything sort of crazy, but, when people ask me, or, often I get a client who says, oh, I have a son of a friend who wants to interview, can you talk with him before the interview? I said, sure, of course, happy to. So, and I always tell people, I say, listen, if I'm interviewing you, what would be important to know for me as the person who's interviewing you, why, you have to answer the question, why do you want to come to this organization? Why? And it has to be a little bit more substantial and can't just be, because I heard you have a nice culture and nice benefits. You have to sort of do more homework there. And the other thing is, I think also try to find out something else about the company that interests you, what they're doing, in terms of climate change or any sort of initiative that the companies have. And if you go on the website, there's a lot of information there, which I'm sure, you probably know that already. But I'm always surprised that, people often don't do enough research. They think, just having the grades and just showing up is enough. But I think that's not really enough. I would not hire anybody who is not sort of, cannot tell me concisely why they want to come here and what they think they could add, how they can add value to the organization. I think that's very important.
Thank you so much. And I want to ask a question for students that, many of them sitting here, they're international students. They may have an H-1 visa issue, and it's a JP Morgan. And for sponsorship will be extra cost that I know. But what kind of candidate would you think you would consider to sponsor?
An MBA or something like that, I think it's a little bit easier. But undergraduate, I think, quite honestly, I think it's not so simple. But I do think if you land an internship and you do really well, I think you have a decent chance that they will try to sponsor you. So.
That's great. And I'm going to ask one more question. Because I'm standing by student side at this time.
Okay.
All right, so is there opening for this summer internship program? Because I know even today I got the news, Amazon's keep lying off. Even today, the breaking news this morning. I want to know, because it's to be in banking corporates are not in a good position as well. That I heard such as Goldman Sachs is freezing the internship program for this summer. What about JP Morgan? Are you guys still opening for new grants?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything to the contrary, so I think we're still hiring. But the way that we do it is sort of very structured, if you will, because we work with certain schools, and I think obviously Columbia, you were top of that list, and we go on campus and we have events. I think now, for this upcoming summer, we're probably already we have all the candidates that we want to have as interns, because that process probably starts in September of last year on the campuses, and then we interview, and then there's sort of a whole day that they spend at JP Morgan where they interview with more people, and then it becomes sort of decided who gets the internship. but that process starts quite early. It starts probably almost a year before. And also the interns that we hire tend to be juniors going into their senior year. We don't hire sophomores. And then, also of course we do hire full-time after college, but a lot of those positions are filled by the interns that come in the summer between their junior and senior year. Having said all of that, JP Morgan's a big company. There's always turnover, always. And there's even amongst the interns that said that they would come back full time after they finished, many of them don't come back for whatever reason. There's always ways to sort of see if there's opportunity, and the way that we do it, unfortunately, which is not great, but that's just the way that I think the sign of the times is everything's on the website. So you have to go into the website and look, what are the job openings, and then you can apply over the website. Everything's a complete meritocracy, so there's no way that anybody can influence that. So you have to go on the website, apply, probably submit your CV. There may be some sort of interview. It may not even be with a human being, unfortunately. But, again, it's a sign of the times. But then once you make it past that stage, then you will actually probably talk to a real human being, and then there'll be more interviews and so forth. But just getting past that first stage, you have to go through the online process, which is not great, but that's also because I think there's so much volume. The only way to handle it is through this sort of initial screening online.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to pass to you, Julia, but before I do that, because I know you're running a platform, it's AlphaMail, that is considered a middle-sized company. You're the COO. And so I talked to JP Morgan, of course I understand the corporates have the strict rules for, going to interview internships and all this and that. It's very complicated, I would say that. I tried when I was graduated, but but it's a middle-sized COO. Like, what candidates, like internships are looking for? Would they have a better chance? It's international student.
So I'll make 2 points quickly. The first point is that when you're applying, you have to have the wow factor, and you have to have a little bit more than your competitor in terms of the licenses that you can get. And these days, if you go to AICPA website, for example, and I had to do that. I was looking for CTO jobs, and I'm like, okay, so what are the signals that I need to give that the recruiters, executive search is gonna look for? So what are the right signals, especially on your LinkedIn and everywhere else where your profile is going to be read, and on your resume? And secondly, what is the wow factor, okay? So the signals where I went to AICPA, there are a lot of open courses. You could do machine learning class. I did one in like 2 days, okay? And they give you a certification. And it's from like a reputable school, and it's one of these open Coursera or like something else. And I went to AICPA, which is the International Society of CPAs, and for a few $100s, I got a certificate in blockchain, I got a certificate in a bunch of other stuff. And so all of that stuff, it took me maybe, I don't know, a day or two to get it done. And I tend to be fast, like I can do this stuff, and I knew it already, but for a couple of $100, I got the certifications that look great on LinkedIn. So those are the signals that you need to send, that you understand like the basics and what banks would care about, specifically in the field in which you're applying. The wow factor, that's you. Like if you ask me anything on the question of technology, like literally you're gonna have to have like 2 people come here and like drag me off stage. And it's not because I like to be on stage, it's like I like tech. It's interesting to me. So I've done so many projects, I've done so many, I did so many things, when I went into tech, I think I had like a quantitative reward in econometrics and quantitative analysis from NYU for my thesis. And so I would bring that up, you know what I mean? And there was like one NYU graduate, and I did 2 majors. I did econ from College of Arts and Science and finance from Stern School of Business. That was another wow factor. I passed my German, I took foreign language requirement, saved the semester, did double major. So I talked about that I'm efficient. You know what I mean? Like I can use my time just like to do twice as much or be faster or, do a great thesis. And I programmed in Gauss and a lot of other students couldn't do that. And I was like, if you hire me as a research assistant, I can automate the heck out of everything that you're doing. And you know what I mean? And they're like, okay, well, that was the differentiator. It wasn't my econ degree. There were like so many people with econ degrees. But I did the reading. I wowed the chief economist USA, of HSBC. I talked him into giving me a job. I was still at school. Like, forget, I didn't even graduate. And he was like, don't you have classes? And I'm like, I'll take care of it, I'll come up with something. And I did, or like I moved him to like, evening classes or whatever. So that wow factor, you have to figure out what it is that that no one else is going to care about. That could be blockchain, that could be crypto, that could be anything else that these banks care about or are doing projects on. You have to know it, you have to know everything about it. And not just what that bank is doing, but what the 12 or 15 of their nearest competitors are doing in that field. I knew it down cold. I knew absolutely everything that they were doing, not doing, why they were doing it, ideas and whatnot. And so it was just, all of these things. And then finally, you have to understand what are they looking for in terms of your presentation. What do you need to look like? I'm sorry that this is kind of, not stuff that people talk about, very often. But when we talked about culture involves what you look like, what you wear, how you present yourself. Do you know what I mean? There are cultures that are super conservative. And so you need to present yourself as super conservative. I couldn't get hired by JP Morgan as a blonde. I had to dye my hair black and I got hired. Seriously, it's a true story. Like they just didn't, they thought like, oh my God, look at her. Like what the heck could she possibly know about tech, So I was like, okay, fine. I put in the most drab conservative. My mom was like, are you insane? Like, what are you doing? This was like against any fashion principle. But you know what? It got me hired into JP because I projected a very serious conservative look, which apparently you have to have dark hair for that. Okay, so congratulations. Right. So those are the things that I would focus on, and but you have to nail it. Like it's not just focusing on that. It's like get feedback from 20 people and present exactly what people expect, and you will succeed. Because and then do it like maybe 200 times. Like if you tell me anything before you have 200 like literally interviews, walking in, sitting down with people, it's the law of numbers, okay? Like literally, you just have to do it. You have to do it persistently, but every consecutive time that you go has to be better than the last. So take all emotion out of it and be like, here's what they're looking for, here's me. Next time, I'm gonna be 1 inch closer. You know what they say, like, move in the direction of your dream. If you cannot move there, just like walk there. If you cannot walk there, crawl in the direction of your dream. If you cannot crawl, just lie down, but lie down in the direction of your dream. So that's basically it.
Thank you, but I'm going to ask your question for... No, I'm not moving in. I want to answer a question for students. I wanted to start a voice for you guys to ask her that. I know you're running the middle-sized company as a fintech. And many great students here are looking for summer internship opportunities. And as a COO of your company, that what internship candidates, what student candidate are you looking for? Please share.
So we got contacted by 2 services. One is out of England, out of London, and the other one is out of New York, and they have internships. These are free internships. And they're like, you know what, just get these interns, you don't even have to pay them, just like, they just want to work. And I'm like, who wants to work for free? And they're like, yeah, people want to work for free. And we were like, okay, if you insist. So we have an intern right now who's working out of Kent, London. In Europe, they have this thing where there's like, they take a year or something like that. So he took a year off. And I was like, okay, let's give it a try. So he's sitting there in Kent, England, and we gave him some stuff to do. And he was like, he's just like crushing it. I mean, it's insane. You know what I mean? What this guy's doing. So it turned out, to be an interesting opportunity. And so there are these organizations. I can pass along the information to Katy. She can post it, like if you guys want it, so that you know how to get in touch with them. So if you cannot find a paid internship, you can most definitely do, something like that. But just make sure that people are committed to teaching you. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're doing it for free, you have to be able to put stuff on your resume. Okay, and it has to be an extremely well-written resume. And one thing that people, if you work for free for them, they will help you write your resume because they'll feel so obligated. I mean, we're gonna, do something for this guy for sure, but he's gonna get so much advice. You know what I mean? Because like he's paying us, like he's creating a huge amount of value. So of course we're gonna give him a ton of advice.
Thank you so much for sharing. So you want to add something?
No, I want to add a couple points.
Morgan Stanley, you want to add a couple points? Go ahead.
Yeah, I feel left out.
Yeah.
No, this is important because, I went through the same thing, right? So, you guys are smart, right? You guys are smart. You can contribute a lot to every company in the United States. The reason, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, all the companies, it's not like they don't like you guys, they want you, right? They want you. The problem is that a lot of the regulations, right? So for H-1B, right, the definition is that you have to find an international student or international worker to perform a job that a regular American cannot perform. That's the problem, and that's why a lot of the firms we cannot hire. It's not because we don't want you guys, right? We want you guys, and I think Julia mentioned about the wow factor. It's really about finding a game where you're gonna have an edge, right? You're gonna embrace your differences. It's an advantage. Don't see this as something you're not liking anything. Embrace it. That's all.
So you're trying to say that you're from overseas, is international student. It's not, you shouldn't see it as a disadvantage. It's actually we should take it as an advantage because we have overseas view and knowledge. The languages that we're speaking, we can definitely add in to the corporate culture, to the corporate value, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's
Absolutely.
how I feel. And
Thank you.
Morgan Stanley has summer interns.
Okay, I see the compete in JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley, even though you guys are brother sisters, right? Yeah, okay, so let's move on to the next. All right, so welcome our student, Cherry Lee, and she is a Columbia University student, and she recently just got offered from Barclay Investment Banking. And she's going to share a little her experience for how to apply for this job, right?
Oh, it's okay. So, hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Chen-Rui He, and it is an honor to stand before you today to share some of my job hunting journey in the United States. So, as an international student with a bachelor's degree in economics from University College London in the UK, and currently pursuing a master's at Columbia University, I have confronted numerous challenges during my job search. Yet, I also found the inner strength and resilience required to overcome these obstacles. So, my professional journey began with my first internship in a wealth management, followed by a business data analyst in a fintech company, and ultimately an intern position focusing on quantitative research in a hedge fund. And intriguingly, despite not having taken any programming courses during my undergraduate studies, I found that all my internship required skills. I was stepping into a world dominated by tech-savvy individuals where I felt like an outsider. Yet, I refused to be deterred. So, motivated by a fierce determination to succeed, I make a plan and set clear objectives. I knew every day counted and had to make the most of it. But there were moments when I could have done better, doubt my ability to, when compared with me and my more technically proficient peers. So, but in those moments, I remind myself of my goals and the reasons behind them. I found the strength to stay positive, learn from my failures, and turn them into opportunities for growth. So as I progressed through my internship, I began to stand out, not only because of my acquired technical skills, but also because of my unwavering determinations and positive attitude. I realized that my unique background in economics and my self-taught programming skills allowed me to bring a fresh perspective to the table. So this realization fueled my confidence and motivated me to work even harder. So I want to share this part of my story with you to emphasize that regardless of our background or what challenges we face, we all have the power to define our own paths. It is not the background that defines our success, but our ability to make a plan, stay disciplined, and remain positive throughout when faced with adversity. So, as I completed my undergraduate in London last year, I traveled to New York and started my master's degree and started my job hunt as well. I encountered several challenges. So, the first one I would say was preparing for the coding interviews. Lacking a formal technical background, I devote extra effort to developing my skills in technical concepts when compared with other candidates from computer science or engineering degrees. So this dedication paid off, and I recognized that persistence and determination would ultimately prevail. And in addition to technical interviews, I faced the challenge of mastering behavioral interviews, which required me to showcase my soft skills and adaptability. However, the most daunting challenge I encountered was actually networking. So as a naturally introverted person, I found it difficult to put myself out there and connect with others. But I knew that to succeed, I had to step out of my comfort zones and transform myself into a more outgoing individual. And so I did. I started by asking professionals for coffee chats, seizing the opportunity to learn from the experience and gain insights into the industry. This conversation allowed me to present my unique background, demonstrate my passion for the field. And over time, I realized that I became more confident and more comfortable in this kind of interactions, which enabled me to forge meaningful relationships. So this process of networking was actually not only about building professional relationships, but also about discovering myself. So through countless conversations, I gained a deeper understanding of my strength, weakness, and aspiration. And I became more familiar with who I was, what I wanted to achieve, and how I could contribute to this professional work. So by confronting these challenges and employ the strategy I have mentioned today, I am proud to say that my job hunting journey has had a great result so far. So I received an offer to join a hedge fund in Florida this summer. Furthermore, I have secured a position as a data engineer in Barclay next year. These are remarkable accomplishments that fills me with happiness. Finally, I would encourage all of you to preserve and never give up. Although it is very difficult, but whether you are just beginning your job search or grappling with similar challenges, try to embrace the obstacles and learn from them, and also grow stronger. And my journey has demonstrated that you can achieve your goals with hard work, determination, and positive attitude. Yeah, that's my sharing, and thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. Thank you to our national leaders. Thank you so much. So it's right now. Let's do Q&A. I think it would be welcome for questions, and JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, all here. Any of your questions are welcome. Go ahead.
Thanks a lot for sharing your insights today. It was a wonderful session.
I'm sorry. Can you pass him a mic?
Thanks a lot for this session. It was an insightful session. I'm Malvinya Bora and I'm a student at NYU. So I just wanted any insights on how AI tools such as ChatGPT and Bard AI are being incorporated into financial industry, and what are the skill sets which might be required in the future which may be disrupted by the use of these technologies.
Excellent question.
Yeah, I can start. Yeah. I know Julie asked a question. Must have a lot to say about it too. Well, personally, I think it's going to change a lot of things, and I think personally, I'm a little scared what it can do because it's creepy. It's creepy, but it's hard to stop it. Nothing's going to stop it. It's going to be the trend, and this is important, right? All right, so Morgan Stanley, we started using OpenAI, right, for operational efficiency and all that, right? So we're already using OpenAI, right, in addition to the ChatGPT. But probably, every time you turn on the TV, right, Bloomberg, whatever, NBC, you hear, all you hear is a large technology company are laying off people. I think ChatGPT is one of the reasons, right? A lot of call center people, it's going to be hard for them to keep their jobs, right? They better be retrained or, for the other positions, because that's going to change a lot of industries. It sounds a little bit negative, I say, right? Too much room, but at the same time, there are opportunities. For example, Microsoft has been investing in it, since 2019. A lot of companies are going to benefit, right? Julia mentioned earlier about always learning about the trends. The trends change over time, and this is going to accelerate. It can only accelerate it. So finance is going to be a lot different, right? Finance, as we know, every large brokerage firms are rolling out their own discount brokerage services, right? We got E-Trade, all that, and that's the future. That's the future. I think for portfolio manager, for what I do, right, managing families' wealth, like institutional money, all that, it's a little bit different. But for the self-directed, it can only get better and better, right? That's a competitive advantage a lot of firms want to gain. And one of the quickest way, and also at the moment the best way, is to integrate AI into their vertical integration, basically. Right?
Hey, it's a great question. There are forums, they're absolutely free in the family office space that people get together like almost every month and they discuss exactly that, like what is AI, what's fintech. I speak at a lot of these things and I know that you can totally do Zoom for free. Okay, so if you look at, Katy and I connected on LinkedIn, we will post there afterwards, a lot of the free events where you can log in and just follow it. And the best thing is everybody's on Zoom. If you have questions for them, like including myself, because I speak on fintech here and AI and all of that stuff, you can totally just ask. Really, so we'll give you great resources because it's such a good question, but it's such an important and huge question. Yeah. Thank you for asking me.
So who else have a question?
Sebastian.
Oh, you want to?
I don't know how much. I think you said it perfectly. I think our industry is certainly impacted by it. Anything like sort of what we do, maybe less so right now, but that could change as well as the technology gets better and better. But I think, you need to be, if you're a young person, obviously you need to be fully ingrained, understand it, sort of get comfortable with it, and try to use it to your advantage, whatever it is that you're
and return.
And the best thing is, it's so great that you're asking it, right? So already you can put yourself on the map, and now because you asked, we'll put the resources out there, and 1% of you is actually going to go. You know what I mean? So that 1% that's going to go is going to make a ton of connections and, talk to, like, engage with all of these things. You know what I mean? And you're going to know which classes to take, which certificates to do, and that's exactly how we learn. Curiosity is the best resource.
That's a perfect question. So I see there's a lady, she want to ask a question. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I love the stories about taking risks and changing. So they are all successful stories, and I love them. But I would also love to hear more about any risk or change that you have taken but ended up unsuccessfully, and what did you learn from that?
So basically, you want to say what we learned when we were younger. We learned from our mistakes.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Okay. You want to answer this?
Can I start?
Yeah.
I make many mistakes. I make them every day. I think, one of the mistakes I made in my career was that I think when I graduated from Columbia, I sort of moved towards investment banking because that was the trendy thing to do at the time. And even though it was very competitive then, and I'm sure it's very competitive now, and even though I sort of miraculously got into investment banking, I didn't really enjoy it at all. I mean, I enjoyed it on some level. Intellectually, it was interesting, but I didn't like the culture. And so I think, the lesson for me was I did it because like my friends were doing it, or people that I knew, that I respected did it, but it wasn't the right thing for me. And so, obviously it was an interesting time, but they weren't wasted years, but I would say just, don't do what other people do or what you think you should be doing, but do what you're really passionate about, what you think you want to do. I think as we talked about earlier, I think that's, for me, that's a good lesson.
So I want to add a couple sentences. Like the way I grew up, I see people around me, surrounding me, not only college but also working environment. I see it's very interesting human being behavior that they like to criticizing you, right? So they can't do it, and then they don't see it, and they don't believe it, and then thinking if you're doing, they criticizing you says you're wrong or you're foolish. Right? I'm just saying that the way I grew up, that I've been through all this, that I really never really cared how other people think of me or how they think of what is right or wrong. That I do my own research, I read my own books, and I have my own great mentors, and all this helped me have my own thought. So before I'm doing things, I'll do a very mental structure on paper. I'm still old school, writing things on paper, like a structure by structure. Then I'll figure it out. I'll see, okay, I want to do this thing. Like, what's the chance of winning? If that is over the 55%, I'll just give a shot. If I was wrong, so what? I tried. At least I tried. So you guys criticizing me says that is not right. It's just because you're not seeing it. You're not unique. You're not me. This is all about it. So I do what I believe. I don't care how other people think. That's why we got Elon Musk, right? That's why I got Tesla. That's why I got Steve Jobs. Nobody believed there is a cell phone where we can do all this app on it, and like we call Apple. So just do your own thing. Just continue your own belief. Don't care about how other thinks. Because you're not them. You're unique. You're shining. That's what I'm trying to say. Right?
Yeah. Sure. And that's how I got Katy too. Mistakes. How much time do we have? I have a lot to share. I'll share two, right? One is when I deal with a client, I used to think, right, I was stupid kid, whatever. I used to think I know a lot better than my clients, so I would tell them exactly what they need to do, right, without understanding what they're trying to convey, right? So so many times, right? I used to tell my clients, okay, I did all the fancy analysis, right? All the ratio, throw it out there, all that. Perfect portfolio. Nobody could poke hole on the portfolio I put together for my clients. But the client basically said, oh, I'm just scared. So I learned in a hard way that no matter how good the portfolio is, if we are not listening to the client, their concerns, it doesn't mean anything, right? Yes, I can make the clients a buck more, but if basically keeping my clients out at night, it's not even worth it, right? It's not even worth it. And the other thing, so that's one. The other thing is believing, I don't know how you guys think about this, but I don't believe in work-life balance, right? For me, it's one thing. I integrate both, right? Because, I mean, it might be easier because I love what I do. And that's the thing about doing what you love, right? You wake up at 7, go home at 7. If you don't enjoy it, you are having a horrible life. No matter how good your nightlife is, you are miserable, right? That's a crappy life. So you want to make sure you enjoy the work hour too. So that's another thing I learned the hard way, is that I tried it, didn't work out. So I integrated it, right? Basically, work life is one thing. I enjoy it at my work. I'm having like 40 hours, 50 hours per week of a happy time, right? That's the happy life.
Thank you. Yeah, so next I'm going to make an announcement that we're going to have a fabulous event on April 11th that National Leader Group partnership with Family Office Unit and Barclays. We're going to have a day conference having 150 guests. Most of them are from all kinds of professional field, and I would like Julia to take this because she's our partner for that.